Today's lesson is on equivalent fractions, and today we're going to be using models. We have some vocabulary to start. So since we're doing fractions, we need to remember what the two parts of a fraction are. So first of all, we have the numerator. So write this down on your paper. A numerator is the top number on a fraction, and denominator is the bottom number on a fraction. Okay, so we're going to write a fraction that you all should be very familiar with. 1/2. So let's see how well you were listening to that first part. What do we call the 1, the top number of our fraction? A numerator. And what do we call the bottom number of our fraction? The denominator. Okay, today we are going to be using models. So I'm going to draw a picture of 1/2. So here's a hole, one whole rectangle, and I'm going to cut it into 2 equal pieces. It's important that they're equal. And I'm going to shade in 1 part. So we have 2 equal parts. That's our denominator, is our total equal parts. And we shade in 1. It shows that we have 1/2. So the numerator is the number of parts we have. So I shaded 1 part. And the denominator is the total number of equal parts. So there were 2 equal parts. So that is 1/2. Okay, here's a couple more models. So this is one whole rectangle. I put a line down the middle, and I divide it into 2 equal pieces. So that's our denominator. It's going to be 2. If I have one of those 2 pieces, it's 1/2. There's another 1/2. Those 2 halves together equal my whole rectangle. Here's the second rectangle. So that's one whole rectangle. This time I'm going to divide it into 4 equal pieces. So these are all going to be 1/4. And together I have 4/4. That equals 1 whole. And one more. This time I'm going to cut the pieces even smaller. I'm going to cut it into 8 pieces. Notice that as my numbers get bigger, my pieces actually get smaller. When I had 2 pieces, they were pretty big. Now that I'm to 8 pieces, they're really pretty small. So with fractions, it's kind of the opposite. The bigger our denominator, the smaller the pieces are. So each of these is 1/8. And altogether we have 8/8 that makes up our whole rectangle. For the next one, I'm going to take just half of this picture. And I used blocks because I'm tired of drawing all those little pictures. So I've got just 1/2. Then I've got 1 2/4, so 2/4, and 1 2 3 4/8. And you'll notice that all of these are the same length. They all take up the same amount of room. They are equal. So we call these equivalent fractions because they are fractions that are equal. So 1/2 is equal to 2/4. 2/4 is equal to 4/8. They are equal. And equivalent even starts like equivalent fractions. So for today's lesson, we are looking for fractions that are equal. And here's 3. 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8. We've been learning about patterns. So you may have noticed a pattern, and we're going to do more of this tomorrow. But if we multiply 1 by 2 and do the same to the denominator, that equals 2/4. If we multiply 2/4 by 2, that equals 4/8. So we're going to be using this more tomorrow. Okay, you can also use number lines to help you figure out equivalent fractions. So if I have a number line that goes from 0 to 1, and I break it into 3 equal pieces, 1, 2, 3, and if I fill in 1, that would be 1/3, 2 would be 2/3, and if I have the whole thing, that would be 3/3, which is the same as 1 whole. And if we wanted to find something equivalent to 2/3, so I fill in 2 of my 3 equal pieces, that's 2/3, and I want to find something that is equal or equivalent to that. So I want to find how many ninths would be equal to 2/3. So I made a number line the same length, and I tried really hard to make these all equal pieces. So I've got 9 equal pieces, and I want to know how many it will take to be the same as 2/3. So I draw a line to the same length, and that is 6 ninths to get to there. So 2/3 and 6 ninths are equal or equivalent fractions. Okay, so there we go. 2/3 is equal to 6 ninths. Once again, this time you'll notice these are both just times 3, 3 times bigger. 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so here's my first example. I want to know, are 1/4 and 3/12 equivalent? So you're going to use models to try and figure this out. So you can use blocks or pictures. So if I have this picture, I have 1/4 and 3 of those 12ths, and it looks like they are exactly the same length. So they are equivalent. You can also use number lines. So if I draw a number line, divide it into 4 equal pieces, and I shade in 1, that's 1/4. And if I draw a number line for 12ths, I draw 12 equal pieces, and I fill in 3. They go the same distance. So are 1/4 and 3/12 equivalent? Yes, 1/4 and 3/12 are equivalent. Here's my second example. Are 1/2 and 7/8 equivalent? They're each just missing one piece, but let's draw a picture here. So if I have all of my fraction blocks, I find 1/2 goes to there, 7/8 goes all the way over to there. So even though they're both just missing one piece, there's quite a bit of difference if I continue this line up. They definitely don't look equal. So no. So notice this second picture I just put up. I took off one piece of each of them. So I got rid of 1/2, 1/3, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. And as I said earlier, with fractions it's kind of the opposite. If we get rid of a 12th, it just is missing a tiny little piece. Whereas with 1/2, it's missing quite a lot. So it's missing that much. Whereas the 12th is just missing a little tiny piece. So even though each of these were just missing one piece, missing a half is a whole lot more than missing an 1/8 or a 12th. Okay, the second kind of question they're going to be asking today are to find some equivalent fractions. So we want to find 2 equivalent fractions for 2/6. So I can use my same fraction picture. So I'm going to draw a line where 2/6 is right there. And I want to find 2 things that are equal, that go to that same line as 2/6. So there's our 2/6. I want something that is equivalent to that. So I'm going to look at my halves. Nope. My thirds are exactly on that line. So 1/3 does go to the same spot as 2/6. My fourths, nope. Fifths, no. We already know 2/6 does, because that's what we started with. That's where we drew our line. Eighths, don't quite. Tenths, no. And twelfths, oh, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4 twelfths. So 1/3 and 4 twelfths are equivalent to 2/6. Okay, now it's time for you to do your 4 problems. So using models, you can either use your fractions or number lines, pictures. I want you to be able to find if 4, 6, and 1/2 are equivalent. So write yes if they are, and no if they aren't. Number 2, are 2/3 and 4/6 equivalent? Write yes if they are, no if they are not. Number 3, I want you to find 2 equivalent fractions for 4/8. And 4, find 2 equivalent fractions for 2/6. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.